All right, so we're out here with the Chevy Bolt, and I'm making the autofocus video on it right now, but we thought it would be a good idea to show a little bit of the behind the scenes of some of the different shots in this video. So for those of you who know, I've been shooting these videos entirely on smartphones. It's actually mostly been iPhone 13 Pro and 14 Pro in ProRes so far. But there's some shots that would just feel a little bit more dynamic, a little more interesting from different angles. And of course, we do have the Insta360 that I've talked about in Dope Tech on the main channel. So they've sponsored this video to help me show you guys how I'm gonna get some of those specialty shots from this camera in the autofocus video that also goes live at the same exact time that you see this here. So let's just get right into it. So the first one I'm gonna show you is while driving, I would rather not anymore have to hold my phone with one hand and drive with the other hand. I've done it like in 2 videos and like, I don't want to do it anymore. And I showed a version of this in the main video where I put this camera in my mouth, and it does technically record a first person view, but I also kind of don't want to do that anymore either. So we have a head mount, and I'm gonna attach the Insta360 to the head mount, so you'll get a first person view of me looking over the steering wheel and what it's like to be in the driver's seat of the Chevy Bolt. I'm also gonna do HDR video so we can see the interior and the exterior at the same time. I feel so good about this right now. Here we go. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end up pointing it down kind of right in front of my face like this so I can still see. Because what we learned is these 360 cameras with 2 lenses, the seam right between the cameras is the rough spot. You don't wanna shoot through that. So if I point the seam out the front of the car, that's gonna be a challenge. So I'm gonna actually point it down so it's in front of my face, and then I'm mostly using this lens for my perspective. It stayed in place. It doesn't wobble too much. I'm not distracted, I'm not holding a phone. And nobody watching the video can tell how ridiculous I look. Oh, HDR is nice in this too, because you can see out all of the windows and the interior of the car. So you can see before I flipped it down how high up it is, which is not really realistic because you can't see out the windshield. So when I flip it down, now that's a first person view. The video that you get out of it is so much better than me trying to hold my phone. It's wider than the ultra wide. So this is just, you just put it on your head, and you don't even think about it anymore. That's a really good clip.
We beta tested this yesterday, and we discovered that if you basically close the sunroof kind of on the stick a little bit, it makes it a bit more stable because it has less places to go. So we're gonna do that again.
But you still hold it with your hand instead of like depending on the glass. Yeah. There's also a thing where like not every car we review is gonna have a sunroof, so we can go out the window if we want, and we can go out the side, but it works way better for like a GTA like first person view if we go middle of the car, which is why we're doing it this way.
So yeah, hopefully it'll just kind of look like Mario Kart.
Like a cracked sunroof. There's 2 lenses again on the Insta360 camera. Instead of just kind of like pointing them wherever, we have one facing forward, one facing backward. So the seams are on the sides because we already know the perspectives we're gonna use are mostly facing forward or facing down, and that eliminates the little bit of a seam we could have. So the last bits of why we're using this camera are basically trying to be thoughtful about what is unique about the car that we're shooting. Like every car has something with the design, the shape, or the features. So in a car like this has the Redline package, which basically is a black interior and a black exterior with red accents, and I'm kind of a huge fan of this like red accent on the wheel. So we're gonna have a shot of sort of a rear 3/4 sticking out a little bit of the wheel and the back bumper as we're driving. I mean, I could risk my phone shooting ProRes and mounting it on the side of the car, but I much prefer the flexibility of something like this. And it's just a suction cup mount. Boom, Insta360 sticks out the side, and I'm gonna try to get it facing basically straight forward like this. So the seams are not really in the shot, and you can just drop it on the side. Look, that feels, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
You trust it? I trust it. Let's shoot it. So this is just driving around, getting the wheel moving. This is the type of shot that could be on any road. It'll just be kind of a close-up of the wheel, but it'll look good. All right, so this is a fun shot. This is something that we probably won't use again in an autofocus video, but it is a fun demo, so I'm gonna show you anyway, which is we have this like really intense tow hitch camera rig on the back of the pickup truck that I've showed you guys before that we use for the main channel autofocus videos with their big camera and the NDs and the matte box and everything. And that's crazy, but you can actually pull off the same thing with another car and just follow the shooter car and get rolling shots kind of like this. It's basically the same idea, less stabilized, but there is a good amount of in-camera stabilization that does a really good job here. So I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna see what it looks like. We're not gonna do this for every video, but I wanna see what it looks like. So let's try a following rolling shot.
It's funny, I'm like trying to frame as I drive, which is like not the easiest thing, but we do have the ease of mind of being able to literally reframe any way we want. So we can technically just get any framing as we drive, which is kind of nuts. Like normally you'd have to like literally use like the Ronin controller to push the camera side to side if you want to reframe, or up and down. But with this, literally just all of that's in post, which is fantastic. It goes without saying, but like those shoots usually takes like 3 people to do, whereas this is like, you could probably just do this with like 1 or 2.
All right, there's one more really cool shot I want to show you guys, which is putting the Insta360 up here on the front of the hood of the car. I'm sure a lot of you guys at this point have seen like the incredible Top Gear videos and these car reviews where you can see into the car while you're driving, which takes a lot of work and equipment unless you have a really portable camera with HDR that just mounts right on the hood. And the bonus is it also fires straight out the front and you can get a sort of a first-person view, which is cool too. And from here, it's gonna shoot me, the driver, as I'm driving, which is a shot I'd never gotten on my phone. And it's gonna have the other view shooting right out the front. Well, those are the main shots we wanted to get. The front view facing forward, facing backward, the wheel shot because this car has a unique wheel, the interior, of course, the first person driving. I think we'll throw it to Mariah, who's gonna be working with some of the 360 footage. But I think bottom line is in the autofocus video, I'm gonna be mixing smartphone footage with Insta360 footage, and it should feel pretty seamless and give you a more total view of the car. At least that's my goal. Hopefully we did a good job. On to the edit.
So you guys just saw Marquez film the Insta360 video for the Chevy Bolt, and now I'm gonna be walking you through how to edit in the Insta360 program, and I'll show you some of my favorite tools and how I use it. So what's really nice about this program specifically is you can do keyframing and you can do motion tracking, which is crazy because a lot of programs hadn't even added motion tracking in regular editing programs until recently. So I'm gonna use the Deep Track tool and I'm just gonna trace the car that I wanna track, and I'm just gonna hit start tracking. And it shows you in real time that it's analyzing the car and how it will be framed. Normally for programs, when you're rendering this, you'd get like a loading screen and you'd have to wait till it's done, but it's showing you as it's playing how it's tracking it. It did a pretty good job of keeping the car centered in the frame, which is exactly what I wanted. But you can see that there's like a little bit of distortion around the corners, which I kind of want to get rid of. And luckily you can just change this down to 0 and you should have less of a wide angle lens and less distortion, but we're still a little bit far away from the car and I wanna see if I can get closer. So I'm gonna bring this in a little bit. You can see it's losing a little bit of quality, but it'll definitely still get you closer to your subject. Or if I'm too close, I wanna zoom out a little bit. And you can bring this pretty far out, so you can make it look really, really tiny. So now instead of looking like you're 10 feet ahead of the car, it looks like you're like 50 feet ahead of the car. So you can also see all of the file properties on the right-hand side, and you can see that these are all HDR clips, which is great for more dynamic range, different audio modes. We have wind reduction because we had it literally outside on the back of a car. So for those clips where you can't do motion tracking, you can set keyframes. And what's nice about the setting of the keyframes is that you can also adjust the transition between your keyframes. So I have them just set to linear, but you could also have them, speed up and slow down and speed up again. For this, I just set keyframes to keep the car centered, and this almost kind of looks like a GTA top-down shot of like the car. So I just kept the car facing forward and I tried to just rotate it as it drives along. As it's coming around this corner, I want to keep the front of the car at the top of the frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just going to roll this angle. I'm gonna bring the distortion down a little bit so it's less like Tiny World and a little bit more realistic as we kind of see the edges becoming a little bit smoothed out. And I'm gonna hit play. And you can see it's instantly veering off the path I set. So I'm gonna set another keyframe and I'm gonna center it. So right here, you'll see it starts here. It's keeping it in the center as we turn, and it's still keeping it. Perfect. So this shot we have on the back of the Rivian truck, it was at the end of the day. It's a little bit dark. I'm gonna try some of the Color Plus image processing, and you can see it's definitely making a huge difference. Bringing down some of those shadows, making them a little punchier, and bringing up some of the highlights. I'm gonna go ahead and set an in point and an out point, and I'm just gonna click export, and let's see, we'll just keep it 1920 by 1080. I can always export a higher resolution later, and it has a little export queue on the left hand side. It's pretty fast considering that it's literally like 2 huge video files that are like literally stitched together. That I can export this in like under 30 seconds while doing the motion tracking is pretty great. So I've exported all my 360 clips, and I'm gonna go back to editing the studio video.
So that's been it. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy these like behind the scenes style videos. I think those are the most fun for me on the studio channel anyway. So leave a thumbs up maybe if you're into that. But also thanks again to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. I will continue to be using this camera in future autofocus videos. And actually, if you go to the link below, you will get the best deal on the X3 if you're trying to get one. That'll also come with the invisible selfie stick and a carrying case included for free. And now if you're finishing this video and you haven't yet seen the autofocus video on the Bolt EUV, I would highly recommend checking that out. I'll link that as well. It's really interesting. It's the most affordable electric vehicle of our time, at least right now anyway. So check that out. Either way, until the next one, catch you guys later. Peace.